boys and girls. I'm Miss Phillips. I'm from J.W. Long, 5th grade science. And today I wanted to tell you about this really cool organism that you're going to be able to use at home. You'll be able to play with this organism, look at this organism, and even today I'm going to show you how to do some experiments with an organism. But first, I need to tell you about dealing with organisms. You know, an organism is a living thing. It could be a plant or an animal. So whenever you play with or test living organisms, always remember to be respectful and you don't want to harm them. So the organism that we're going to look at today is the earthworm. So the earthworm is pretty cool. He's going to be squirming around. This was a really fat one, as you can tell. And so he's moving around. So an earthworm is a pretty cool organism. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple of tests. Well, the science word for test is experiment. So what I wanted us to do is I want us to do a little experiment with the earthworm so we can find out some other interesting things about them. One way to find out things about organisms, of course, is to observe them. So the best thing that you can do at home is when you find your earthworm, you can dig it up in the soil because they do, as you can tell from where I got them, they do like to live in the soil. But the best thing to do, boys and girls, to learn about something is to just observe it. So I would suggest that you put your earthworm maybe in a plate and just watch it. Just watch it carefully for maybe a half a minute and see what you can observe. I don't want to share and give you any ideas on what you're observing, but as you watch this video, maybe you can add in the comments what you're seeing that's happening with the earthworm. So it's really good sometimes to just sit back, boys and girls, and observe your surroundings, observe things that are around you. You could learn so much from just watching. So as we're watching this earthworm, hopefully you're observing many different things. He is living because he's moving. So observing, that's one way to learn about something. Another way to learn about it is, of course, to do a test or an experiment. So an experiment is, like I said, is a test. As a matter of fact, when your teachers give you a test at school, they're really kind of experimenting on you. They're trying to find out what is it that you know and what they need to do differently. So an experiment is a science word that just means test. So what I want us to do today is we're going to do a little test on this little earthworm so we can find out more about it. So one test that I want us to do is, or experiment, is we're going to see, does he prefer wet environment or a dry environment? So the way for you to set up your experiment is to just get a paper towel, divide it in half, because you want to have one side and the other side. You want to add with a spoon, because you want to just keep it on your side of the paper towel. So we're going to just add some water on this side to make him have a moist environment. Whoops, it's okay, he's all right. Moist is a word for wet. Moist means that it's not really, really wet, but it's a little bit wet. So moist would be a synonym maybe for the word wet. So what you want to do to test to see what your earthworm prefers is you want to lay him down. You want to lay him down on equal sides and then, of course, observe. See where he's going. The cool thing about earthworms is they can go backwards and forwards. And I'll share with you just a minute how, he's going that direction. I'll share with you just a moment how you can tell what is his head and what's his tail. So this earthworm during this experiment looks like he's trying to burrow. Burrow means that he's trying to dig under something. So it looks like he's trying to burrow, which would be another experiment you could do. So he's probably going to burrow. Let's lift this up carefully. Let's see which direction he's going. He might want to try to burrow under the wet. But since that's not what we're testing right now, I'm going to pull him out and we're going to try it again. The thing about science experiments, boys and girls, is scientists always do more than one experiment. As a matter of fact, some scientists will test over and over up to 5,000 times on one experiment just because they want to make sure that their evidence is correct. So we're going to put the worm back down again. We're going to watch him this time. Oh, this time he's going directly to the wet side. Okay, so let's test him again, because you want to repeat your investigations more than once. So, as you can see, it looks like he's trying to burrow under again right here. You see? He wants to get under something. And that would start with us to give us another hypothesis. An hypothesis is the prediction of what you think is going to happen. Looks like he's going around the sides there. Okay, so here, I'll get to that in just a second. I want to show you this first. I want to tell you some interesting facts about earthworms that you may not know. One way to tell what its head is or what its tail is to look at the very tip. And you have to look pretty close. But the pointy small part, that's the earthworm's head. That's kind of strange to think that his head is smallest part on his body, but it is. So that the little teeny tiny point is his head, and then the other end, of course, is his tail. Earthworms also have anywhere from 1 to 5 pairs of hearts. So they have lots of hearts. So we've talked about in our 5th grade science classes what the job or the niche would be for an organism. Well, the niche or the job for an earthworm, you can look at his environment, where he's coming from, and the job or the niche for the earthworm would be to burrow down into the soil. Well, what would be some things that would benefit the soil to have something digging around in it? You might say digging around in the soil makes the soil looser so that the plants can grow, which is absolutely true. That is one of the benefits that earthworms do, is they keep the soil all tilled up and broken up so the roots can grow and get through there. But one of the best things that earthworms do, and I don't think this earthworm has done it yet. I'm going to put a couple of more earthworms out. Let's see. This one's alive. He looks kind of asleep right now, but he's alive. And the earthworms do something that all living animals do, is they poop. So yes, so the earthworm is pooping in the dirt. So when Miss Phillips was digging her hands in the dirt and digging my hands in this dirt, yes, I was digging in earthworm poop, which it sounds really gross, but the thing about the earthworm's poop is when it goes into the soil, it does something called fertilize the soil. And guess what? Plants love it. So I might not like earthworm poop, and you might not like earthworm poop, but plants love earthworm poop. So we want to keep earthworms in our soil and in our gardens because they're very beneficial. They're going to help the plants grow strong. Their poop gives the soil vitamins and nutrients. So they're very, very beneficial for us. The smallest point is their head. I told you that. They have 5 hearts. The parts of their body that you see stretching out is called a segment. As a matter of fact, I want to zoom in on the segments. The segments, and if you notice, they move differently than they're going to move differently. I'm going to put some water on them just a little bit because they do dry out. So the little parts of their body, it's called segments, and they move differently than a snake. They're kind of like an accordion. It goes in and out, where a snake will kind of curve like this, called slither. So we really don't say that an earthworm slithers. We would just say that an earthworm crawls. And he crawls differently, but he uses his segments to help him move from one place to another. Earthworms. They are a very interesting organism, and they're really cool to play with. After you finish at home, doing your experiment, you want to be sure and wash your hands because, yep, earthworm poop. And you can test this experiment, and then there's another experiment that you can do at home. You can take a piece of paper towel like this, and then you can put a piece of black piece of paper on top. Then you want to add your earthworm to the edge over here of your paper towel. And this test would not test if he likes wet or dry. Since there's nothing that's wet on this experiment, this test is going to test to see if he likes dark or light, which we've kind of already noticed on our first experiment that he tried to burrow under something. So earthworms dry out very easily, so they probably, my prediction would be he might want to go under something so he would not dry out. So put any questions you have on the comments, and I'll try to answer those the best that I can. So earthworms are a really cool organism. As a matter of fact, I have another idea that you can use earthworms for. You might want to make an inference to what I'm going to use these earthworms for, but I've got to go because I have some hungry fish. Thank you guys, and keep learning. Bye.